Teacher Elana Barkhuizen and Trade Union Solidarity have confirmed that they will be taking legal action following Barkhuizen's suspension in the wake of a racism row at a primary school there. And Head of Solidarity Research Institute, Corne Mulder, joins us now in the studio to discuss their legal case. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Evening, Tapiso. Thank you for making time.
So you held a briefing earlier on, and one of the things that you raised was that you felt that her record as a teacher, her good record as a teacher, was not being emphasized. Why in this particular case were you saying that?
Well, it's not that we only felt a good record was being assessed. We felt that this incident was blown completely out of proportion. We have several photographs of the rest of the day that show that this is a teacher that does not make any distinction based on race, who loves all the children in her class. And when we used and said, but you can see this in the class photos of the previous 2-3 years where she's been working at the school and she's really done a lot of effort to make sure that each single child in her class reaches their full potential. What we've seen here is we've seen a hysterical reaction by the media and opportunistic politicians who just came in and completely trampled all over Mrs. Barkhuizen's rights. And this is a problem we have as South Africans, is we tend to focus on the team photo and not so much on the scoreboard.
Okay, we'll come to whence the criticism comes from in just a moment, but let's focus on Mrs. Barkhuizen. She says it was just an innocuous photo that she took of a classroom. But my question is, a teacher who has been, I think, teaching for about 20 years or so, why did she not find anything jarring about the picture? The fact that you have children seated separately, why were they not seated in one table, even if they were being taught separately?
Okay, so we cannot go into the merits in complete detail because the legal process still needs to follow. What she says is, quite frankly, all the children were happy, and that is her primary concern. Viewing this incident through the race-based lens that our media has done and most of our political parties have done is just doing a complete disservice to what actually happened. We're not focusing on the photo, we're focusing on what happened in that class. This isn't her class, she just took the photo. What happened in this class is we've got teachers at a grassroots level who need to sort out failings by the government at a higher level. So you've got the MEC Siluluhari who's aware of the fact that children show up to the school who are not capable of speaking Afrikaans or speaking English. And then you have a teacher who's bending over backwards to try and accommodate these children, to give them special attention, to make sure that they integrate into the school, into the class, and to make sure that they reach the educational outcomes they should. And then what we've done out for that is we've taken a very good grade R teacher who loves her children, who only wants the best for the children in her class, and we've crucified her because we're more obsessed with the team photo than with the scoreboard.
Okay, but it is a school that, it's a public school that's meant to be open to all races. Why should it not include English as a medium of instruction then?
It is open to all races.
Yes, and my point exactly. So why should it not offer English as a medium of instruction for greater inclusivity?
Well, if it was offering English as a medium of instruction, then we would be having a discussion about, this is not about children not being able to speak English or not being able to speak Afrikaans. These children can only speak Setswana. They cannot understand their teacher in Afrikaans or English. She tried in Afrikaans, she tries in English, and then what she did it on her own expense, she would get somebody who can translate for these children to make sure that they actually understand their teacher. Now, this is something that a primary school teacher should not be dealing with. This is not her problem.
I understand that, but you were saying that this is a matter where political parties or opportunistic political individuals have climbed on the back. But it's a community of Schweizer-Reneke that says this is typical not only of the school but of the community, that there is a big racial divide. There is a teacher who says he's gone there so many times on workshops and never has he seen children interact together, even at play. So does that not point to an existing problem?
So you're referencing one community member, then we've got
not one community member, I'm counting several.
Okay, so we've got several parents who in the newspaper said they've been to the school, they've got no problems with the racial integration of the school. We've had a parent in Rapport, it's an Afrikaans newspaper, who said this is an extremely good teacher. She transformed his child, it's a black parent, she transformed his child from a shy person into somebody who's self-confident and who can now partake in the school. So we've got anecdotal evidence on both sides regarding racism or not.
That means that there is a problem, one way or the other,
or
whether everybody agrees.
Or it means there's absolutely no problem. We've got people who say there's a massive problem. We've got people who say there's no problem. We're of the opinion, let teachers do their work. Let's stop using grade R children as political pawns in this situation.
If parents can say that they're told that there are plenty of schools in the township, why not don't you take your children there? Surely there is a problem. How great the problem is, that might be in debate.
Okay, so if the lack of schooling or schools is a problem, then that's something that the MSc of Education in Northwest should maybe be addressing. Instead of standing on a stage and crucifying a teacher who's trying her utmost best to work with the practical reality she's got on the ground. This is not a problem that a primary teacher should be crucified for, because there aren't enough schools in this situation. This is something the government should be addressing. What we've seen is, we've seen a teacher doing the MEC's job, helping children who cannot speak Afrikaans or English to understand their teacher, to get the best educational outcomes they can, and then we've crucified her for doing this.
Okay, so the MEC of Education says he is going to launch an investigation. Just out of curiosity, as you say, you've got anecdotal evidence from various quarters. Are you going to assist in the investigation and cooperate?
Yes, so there's a couple of things. The first thing is the MEC suspended Ms. Barkhuizen, but she's not actually an employee of the Department of Education. She is a governing body appointee. So he suspended somebody who does not work for him, which means that's why we're going to court for an urgent interdict to say, this is a wrongful or unlawful suspension. You cannot do this. We've already made contact with the Department of Education saying we're more than willing to help with this investigation. She'll have legal representation present when we do this, and we'll help you find the real story, because when the real story comes out, there are going to be a lot of powerful people with egg on their face who jump to conclusions.
Such as whom?
Well, MEC Silo Lahari would be the first, who stood on a stage and denounced the suspension of a teacher who does not actually work for him as a sanction for her racism. Then said in an interview with ENC afterwards, the only question remaining is if the principal should be suspended as well. The teacher's racism has been proven. This is somebody who has followed no processes during this, and we expect better from leaders.
Okay, so he also says that he thinks that there may be more suspensions in the offing. Would you represent those members who are suspended should that happen?
We can only speak on behalf of our members. The other teachers and the principal has not contacted us to represent them. So if they want us to represent them, then by all means we would represent them in this case. Suspension in terms of the Education Act is only for serious misconduct. This is having a sexual relationship with somebody in the school, stabbing someone, serious assault. This is not a sanction meant for suspending during an investigation. If you're talking about the safety of the teacher, then that just gets nullified by the MEC standing on a stage and telling a crowd of protesters who have threatened violence the name of this teacher.
Is Ms. Barkhuizen one of your members?
Yes, she is one of our members.
Okay, I'm asking that because in your earlier briefing you said she's not a member. In fact, she approached you for assistance. So is there a disjuncture between that comment, or has she since then become a member post that briefing?
She approached us and we told her we cannot help you if you're not a member. And then she joined, and then the process took hold from there. So obviously we're representing Mrs. Barkhuizen as one of our members.
Okay, so you would encourage those who possibly could be suspended to become more members?
To approach us, by all means. This is going to be, there's a lot of people who need to be held accountable for their actions. We've had mob rule for way too long with a social media frenzy, urging politicians to act populist, and then people's lives get destroyed. And it's the small people, the great art teachers who make this country work, who really only care about 5-year-olds and giving them the goods.
Let's talk about making this country work, Mr. Mulder, as solidarity. What would you say goes through a child's mind where they're seated at a table, two separate tables in fact, and I hear you talking about logic, the rationale behind it, but what do you think goes through a child's mind at that young age where they're seated separately?
For one, what do you think goes through a child's mind if they sit at school the whole day and have no idea what their teacher said?
Let's answer the first question and then you can get...
So I'm not going, I used to be a 5-year-old child, but that was quite a while back. So I can tell you what went through my mind was, this is fun. This is the first day of school. You're trying to find racial segregation.
I'm asking you because this is obviously of concern.
Can I complete a sentence,
yes,
please? You're trying to find racial segregation in a situation where we had a teacher who wants to explain the rules of primary school to children on their first day of school. These are 5 or 6-year-olds. They've never had structured schooling. This is the first time most of them enter a structured educational environment. She found that we have a serious language barrier problem, and that means that I would need to give you special attention. So what goes through these children's mind is, this teacher makes me feel safe, this teacher helps me understand what is going on, and this teacher has my best interest at heart. Shortly after that, however, what went through these children's minds were extreme trauma, and they did not understand what was happening, because we had EFF protesters jumping over the palisades and disrupting schooling. These children had to be evacuated. The images you can see is that parents came to the school, white and black parents, and had to evacuate children, and they loaded white and black children on...
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say our experiences as two South Africans are different, based on our upbringing, based on where we were brought up, the circumstances under which. And I'm not saying I know what would have gone through the minds of those children, but in a country where transformation is still truly lagging behind, don't you think that there needs to be better ways of teaching children, even under those challenges, than separating them on such an obvious categorization where whether or not it's language or not, but
yes.
it is obviously black and white children being seated separately.
No, that is what you're implying, that the teacher stood at the door and said, if you're black, you sit here, if you're white, you sit here. This is not at all what happened. What I'm saying is we've got one photo. There are 3 other photos taken on the same day where the children are playing together. Yet we choose not to focus on this. So what goes through a child's mind when later in the day they're told in Setswana or in broken English and they explain, we now going to sit in a circle and sing songs, and they're singing songs with the other children in the class. What goes through that child's mind at that point? Do you think they're still feeling excluded? So we're looking at one snapshot of a day, of a photo, and you're focusing on that. We're looking at the class.
We're looking at progress here, and I'm sure this is what nation building is about, looking where there are problems and say, how do we resolve them? So I'm asking, as Solidarity, what do you think we should do in order to avoid those obvious differences to children who may not understand?
The situation was resolved less than half an hour later. These children are completely integrated. They're playing together half an hour later. What should be done? What you're complaining about is an instance in the classroom 2 hours after school started. If you go 1 hour further, you've got children sitting in a circle. So you're basically creating a problem that does not exist at that level. We've got one photograph of 4 photographs that were sent at the same time.
There are parents and there are learners and there are teachers who painted different pictures. So who's lying? Are those who are coming forth with different picture from Solidarity lying?
Well, that's what the investigation is for, but whilst you've got parents who you say paint this picture, there are several parents, and we can literally show you thousands of WhatsApp messages who differ, who say, Ms. Elana, we know...
Several of thousands, which one is it?
Let's go with thousands, which we've literally, but we can't share it now because of the process. Several WhatsApp messages who say, Ms. Elana, we know that you care for every single child in your class. You've also got the teacher herself, who now says, I do not care. I care only about the children and if they are happy. And this is going to come out in this investigation. We can't share the exact details, but there are several hair-raising facts and situations that she had to face on that day, and that she did in great personal danger, actually. And still, she protected the children in her class. So the parents who are allegating this are going to say sorry after this. There's going to be a lot of apologies from the parents that you so readily quote, who are lying about the situation.
So are you going to take legal action and ask them to change their point of view or their lived experience of that incident?
Oh no, we're going to take legal action to ask people to please tell the truth when it comes to these sort of situations.
But what if their truth is completely different from what you are bamboozling them to say?
What if their truth is completely different from the truth? Then it's not the truth, no? So we've got the truth, and that is what's going to come out. So the only truth is Solidarity's truth? No, the truth is what's going to happen in this investigation. The truth is an objective measure. Your truth and my truth is not actually a thing. The truth is what we're going to find.
I'm talking about parents and citizens, as in members of the community of Schweizer-Reneke, who paint a completely different picture. So you're not interested in their point of view. You are saying they're lies, and you're going to force them to say that is not the lived experience.
Well, we as Solidarity cannot force anyone to change.
But you have just said so, that you are going to make sure that they apologize. Can I complete a sentence, or do you want to invite me? But that's what you said, I'm quoting.
We're going to extract a formal and public apology from all the people who have slandered her name and defamed her. This is, we are going to restore Ms. Elana Barkhuizen's name in honor, because she is a good teacher, and that's the only thing that she was doing on the day, was she was making grade R children, whose first school day. They've been there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's a very stressful environment. It's a scared child, and she was making them feel safe and making them feel welcome. And this, we can see that she's very good at this. She's done this for 15 years. We've got pictures of the previous classes. The children are happy and smiling and hugging her and loving her. And we've got parents who made testimonies on media, in the media, not anonymous, in the media, saying, we love this teacher, this is a very good teacher, and we would like our children to be in her class, and we want her to be back.
Let's talk solutions. What are you offering as Solidarity? For the school, you say that there are much greater fundamental problems that they need to deal with? What are you offering a solution?
All right, so firstly, as a solution, we're going to go to court to get the suspension lifted as an urgent matter to restore the dignity of Ms. Elana Barkhuizen. After that, we're going to be working with the investigation and making sure the truth comes out. Not someone's truth, the truth. The actual facts that happened there that the Department of Education is going. Then we are taking the MEC to the Human Rights Commission and saying people in power should really be much more conspicuous when they use this power. If you're standing on a stage and fingering a teacher without facts, then you're basically abusing your power and you're trying to trample on this teacher's rights. I've also written to the DA and asked them to sanction their youth leader, Luyolo Mpiti, who spread an image on Twitter of children's identities without actually the consent of the parents, and who concluded racism before any facts were known. They had one picture of 4, the other 3 pictures immediately disprove the narrative that this is a racist school that segregates based on race. So we're going to go that way. Then, of course, we're always urging the MEC of Education, please try and fix education in South Africa in Northwest. We've got too few teachers, actually good teachers, who want to teach children. Enable them. If we've got children who show up at the school who can't speak Afrikaans or English, do not let the teachers have to facilitate the language. This is your job. Do your job and stop trying to throw the teacher under the bus.
Thank you so much for your time, Head of Solidarity Research Institute, Corne Mulder, and that brings us to 6 minutes to 7, and just to let you know that Sentinel Primary School in Hart Bay outside of Cape Town has invested in a song and dance program to boost positive behavior and self-esteem in distressed children from the area. The school has partnered with a local NGO, WISE, to address issues of bullying and various